G'day, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another crazy dose of EV and net zero insanity with MGUY EV news for Christmas Eve. It's Tuesday the 24th of December 2024 and what do you think of the new surroundings? Just trying those out to see what they look like. I quite like the way it looks at the moment, but let me know in the comments what you think. But I just do want to say a huge thank you to you for your support over the last 12 months. I mean, this year's been crazy. As you know, the MGUY channel went a bit crazy at the end of 2023 when the EV stuff started. And it's just gone crazy. It's just been growing steadily all throughout this year, which has been absolutely fantastic. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers. It's almost unbelievable. We're getting close to 85, but it's not that much to reach that amazing 100,000 subscriber figure. So if you're one of the 2/3 of my viewers that aren't subscribed right now, please just click that subscribe button and enable notifications, because then you won't miss any future videos that I put out, which will be absolutely fantastic, and I'll be extremely grateful. Thank you so much. But let's get into it. Here we go. So first question, are electric cars good in winter? Answer, no. Next story. No, seriously. Let's try and take it a bit more seriously. Are electric cars good in winter? Well, no, they're not, because the battery is very susceptible to cold temperatures. The range decreases. You can't use your heater. You can't use anything in the car to make yourself feel comfortable. You just have to turn everything off and wrap yourself up in about 15 layers of clothes. And this article is interesting because what it's doing is just demonstrating how inconvenient EVs are, because what it's doing is it's giving you a whole bunch of tips as to what you can do to make it easier to use your EV in the winter. And what that's basically saying is these are all the things that you wouldn't have to do if you drive a regular ICE car. So let's just have a quick read just for fun. Are electric cars good in winter? Brackets, no, close brackets. Winter is a taxing season and electric cars aren't spared its wrath, but don't give up on these eco-friendly vehicles when the temperature drops. Well, don't even start in the first place is my advice. Are electric cars good in winter? It's a common question for those who own or are thinking about purchasing an EV. If you've ever left a charged cell phone in a cold car overnight and been greeted the next morning with a dead phone, you'll understand the curiosity. Yes, just like your phone, cold temperatures can affect the lithium-ion batteries in EVs. However, this doesn't mean your vehicle won't survive the winter. Your vehicle may survive, but you won't. Depending on your driving habits, you may not even notice a drop in performance. You can also work around any lost output by simply planning ahead. Yes, that's what you have to do with EVs. You always have to plan ahead, because you can't just, pick up your keys and go for a drive like you can with any normal car. You have to plan ahead. Let's just go through to the bits where it gives you the advice that you should take. Winter weather workarounds. There are several easy steps to take to improve your electric car driving experience in the winter. Don't let the battery charge drop too low. An electric car reserves about 15 to 20% of its charge capacity to heat the battery itself. Make sure you're well above that level before heading out. Be smart with the heat. What that means is be cold. Warming an electric car is a significant drain on its battery, so use the heat efficiently. It may seem logical to heat the entire cabin, but that would be far too obvious, wouldn't it? That could waste energy, especially if you're driving alone. If the vehicle has heated seats and steering wheel, stick to those to use less electricity. Some electric vehicle owners tell me they only use minimal heat and have better luck extending the vehicle range using the seat heater and dressing a bit warmer. Well, there you go. Park in a garage if you have one. Batteries perform best in moderate temperatures. Keeping your vehicle out of the cold will allow the battery to charge faster and hold the charge for longer. Also, it takes less energy to keep a warm car than to get it warm, meaning the battery won't be taxed, raising the cabin's temperature. Inflate your tyres. Yes, of course, because this causes more rolling resistance if they're underinflated, which is what happens when they're cold. Utilize eco mode, i.e. drive like a granny. Yeah, that's fun. Switch to winter cars. Oh my goodness me. So, are electric cars good in winter? What we need and want from our car varies from person... Okay, I'm not going to read any more of this. You can read all of these articles at the links in the description. But basically, this is just a perfect example of why EVs are such an inconvenience and so impractical compared to regular cars. Because you have to remember to do all these things that you don't have to worry about with a regular car. Great example of why you shouldn't buy an EV anyway and why they're terrible in winter. And this next story, again, a winter road trip was a total train wreck in an ID Buzz. And this is, they must have been writing this article with gritted teeth, the old guys at Inside EVs, because a pro EV website having to actually report that a trip in an EV is a total train wreck. But it says it's not necessarily the car's fault, of course. What it is, it's a lack of planning, because when you have an EV, you have to plan everything meticulously. So if you don't do that, then, well, it's your fault, not the car's fault. The Volkswagen ID Buzz electric minivan is one cool EV. It looks fantastic, which isn't something you can say about minivans, but VW has managed to blend enough nostalgia and new stuff into the ID Buzz's design that it just works. However, since the US specs of the reimagined microbus hit the interwebs, a lot of people can't move past one figure, 234 miles. That's the maximum driving range of the 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz, as per the EPA, which is probably double what you'll actually get in real-world situations, because those mileage figures that they quote are based on the most beneficial and most advantageous conditions. So you'd be lucky to get half that. Anyway, let's just go on. Our friends from the Fast Lane EV traded in their Tesla Cybertruck and got a brand new Volkswagen ID Buzz, thinking they would use it for long and very long road trips. Well, that was silly, wasn't it? But a dodgy charging experience, freezing temperatures, and a snowstorm made the car's inaugural road trip a total train wreck. As you can see in the video embedded below, I'll link it in the description, the team set out to travel roughly 500 miles. They set off from a hotel that supposedly had EV chargers on site, but those turned out to be Tesla superchargers, which the ID Buzz can't use yet. So, with 15% juice left in the battery, the first charging stop was an Electrify America DC fast charging station where the ID Buzz can charge for free for the first 500 kilowatt hours. However, all the stalls were broken and couldn't be fixed remotely, according to an EA call centre worker who said that a service team was booked to go to the site and make it operational once again. Well, you can read the rest. It's a tale of woe and disaster, and just goes to show how terrible EVs are generally and how much worse they are in winter. Absolutely hilarious. And so if you rent an EV from Hertz, they might just give it to you at the end, pretty much, because they can't get rid of them fast enough. You've seen all my videos on the Hertz debacle, which is must go down in history as one of the worst corporate disasters in history. They bought a bunch of Teslas, they bought a bunch of Polestars. They were a complete disaster for rental business for various reasons that I won't go over again, but basically they cost way too much. People don't want them, cost a fortune to repair, depreciation is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And now, if you rent a Tesla through Hertz, they'll say, do you want to buy it? Hertz asking EV renters to buy their cars. Would you buy an ex-rental Tesla? With under 30,000 miles for under $18,000. Well, that's a pretty good deal. If you want a Tesla, that's a pretty good deal. Hertz is culling its portfolio of EVs in response to the sharp depreciation affecting some of its most popular models, including the Tesla Model 3. In what appears to be an aggressive effort to offload these vehicles, the rental giant has begun reaching out directly to customers currently renting them, offering an opportunity to purchase the cars outright on the spot. While we haven't been able to find an announcement from Hertz directly regarding the scheme, a Reddit user recently shared a screenshot of an email they received from Hertz while renting a 2023 Tesla Model 3. In the email, Hertz offered the renter the chance to buy the EV for just $17,913. The renter says the Model 3 they rented had less than 30,000 miles on the clock, and having the opportunity to buy it at that price sounds like a steal. Last month, we published a story about many of Hertz's Tesla Model 3s being sold, but none of them were this cheap. A look through Hertz's current inventory shows it has 3 2022 Model 3s available for less than $20,000. However, they all have over 130,000 miles on the clocks. But the thing is, what is this doing to the resale values of Teslas? I mean, if Hertz unloads a bunch of these Model 3s at way under the market value, then all it does is it pulls down every other used EV on the market, which is a bit of a disaster because they're not doing too well anyway. This is a hilarious story. A custom Nissan Leaf hearse. Is it an emissions-free ride to the afterlife? Wharfed to your own funeral in respectful silence in this converted compact EV. The biggest question is this: will it cremate you on the way? Save the price of all that hassle of the cremation if you can get it done while you're driving to the funeral parlour. Fantastic stuff. If you've always dreamed of going quietly into that good night without the rumble of an internal combustion engine, now you have a choice. This custom Nissan Leaf hearse promises to whisk your coffin to its final resting place with the silence of electric drive. On sale on Facebook Marketplace, where else? The Leaf in question is a 2011 model hailing from St Albans, England. For hearse purposes, both passenger side doors have been replaced with a single grand window for viewing the coffin. Inside there's just one front and one rear seat. The rest have been removed to make space for the beautifully finished wood panelling and support rails for the coffin. Let's have a look and see if we can find the pictures. Oh, there we go. It's quite clever the way it kind of slides in at an angle into where the passenger seat would be. This is obviously a right-hand drive because it's a UK model. It's been done quite nicely, to be honest. And to be fair, this Nissan Leaf is probably a nickel metal hydride powered electric car, so it's unlikely to cremate you on the way, but it was too good for the joke to pass up. So here's an interesting story about how many hybrid batteries are dying relatively shortly after manufacture. 150,000 kilometers. Well, yeah, it sounds a lot, but you could do that in 3 years or 4 years, or not that much. But anyway, this is a story from an EV repairer. And it says here, the battery system is worn out with 1 to 2 cells completely damaged. The only reliable solution in such cases is to replace all modules, ensuring the next 100,000 kilometers before a new cell replacement is required. However, this is only possible if the BMW dealer does not permanently deactivate the battery system using the EOS tool. Patching with used modules has proven ineffective, as replacing only one module leads to the rapid failure of the next weakest module. Such an approach would result in quarterly module replacements, which would be a burden on the service and is not something we attempt. Replacing all modules at an authorised dealer costs around €11,000 for 9 kilowatt hours, including parts and labour. So this is quite interesting because one of the things we're always told about these batteries is, you don't need to replace the whole battery. You can just replace the module that's failed. But what this guy is saying is that if you do replace the weakest module, then that will hasten the demise of the next weakest module, and you're basically just playing catch-up. You're playing whack-a-mole with battery modules, and it's easier and more reliable actually just to replace the whole thing, which is very expensive. So that's another bit of a myth about EV batteries, that they can be just replaced on a module by module basis. A little bit busted, I think. So this is a story from The US, which obviously you wouldn't have seen anything about in the press, but a Kia EV9 has spontaneously caught fire and burned down the car park of an apartment block in Chattanooga, which is, we're going to see more of this. As I've said, it's going to get more and more common as we get more EVs parking in underground car parks. But here's just a quick excerpt. It was a Kia that started a fire at a North Chattanooga apartment building last month, according to the Chattanooga Fire Department. 7 people had to be rescued from the fire at the Fraser Avenue building, and 5 were taken to a hospital for smoke inhalation, according to the department. An investigation found the fire started from an electric vehicle parked in the building's garage, the department said last week. Spokesperson Lindsay Rogers said the car was identified as a Kia, but did not know what model it was. Well, if you look at the photos, I think there's another article which I will link down below. I don't think I've got it up at the moment. Oh, hang on. Yes, it's this YouTube video. I'll just bring this up and then we can take a look. But you can see from this shape of the back window here and the location of this, well, I assume it's the charging port, that matches absolutely the design of the Kia EV9. So let's just have a quick look at this video.
Well, you're learning more about the apartment fire that sent several people to the hospital last month. Good evening, I'm Latricia Thomas.
And I'm Josh Rowe. This was the aftermath of that fire. The Chattanooga Fire Department says the fire was started by an electric vehicle. You can see this car here, that car destroyed, appears to have been the source of this fire.
Firefighters evacuated 5 people who all spent time in the hospital for smoke inhalation. Officials say this was the first large-scale incident related to an electrical vehicle fire in Chattanooga.
And I can tell you one thing, it will not be the last, because as more and more people are forced to buy these things, it will become more common, I regret to say. So this is a very interesting website. I'll put a link in the description to all of these articles and websites. This one is shows the compliance by various manufacturers with their ZEV mandate compliance in the UK. So some of these manufacturers have been given slightly less targets. I think, I'm not quite sure how that works, but the headline figure is 22% of cars in 2024 have to be EVs. And this shows that, well, let's just sort it by negative credit balance. And we can see that Volkswagen is at the top. They reckon that their estimated sales target is 18.25%. There may be some rules around how they can reduce this a bit. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. I don't know. But you can see they're not even making that. 15.2%. They're short by 12,000 cars. 12,000 cars times £15,000 is what, 160 million pounds in fines or something like that. It's in the millions, in the tens or hundreds of millions. Shocking, really. And you can see, and this is kept up to date. It'll be interesting to see how this changes. Obviously, the ones doing the best are obviously the EV manufacturers: Tesla, Geely, BYD, BMW, Mercedes. So they're doing all right, but a lot of these companies are going to be really struggling. So this article is another one that's just come across my desk this week, and it's interesting because normally the environmentalists would be jumping up and down and screaming from the rooftops about this, but it's quietly hushed up and swept under the carpet when it's dealing with EVs, because these toxic chemicals called forever chemicals, which we've been up in arms, the environmentalists have been up in arms about for years. It turns out that they're a major component of EV battery manufacturing process. And that is like another little dirty secret of the EV industry. PFAS in batteries, the toxic Trojan of the electric vehicles revolution. Electrification of transport depends on batteries made with toxic forever chemicals, but battery manufacturers don't care, a ChemSec investigation has found. Are they shooting themselves in the foot? It looks nice but contains something nasty. In computing it's called a Trojan horse, or simply a Trojan, a program that looks like a normal hyperlink but which infects your machine when you click on it. The electric vehicle's EV revolution promises road transport that doesn't burn the planet. But EVs, as they are currently made, carry a chemical Trojan in the form of long-lasting hazardous substances. PFAS are an important enabler for lithium-ion batteries, the primary means of energy storage for EVs, where they are used as cathode binder materials, additives to the electrolyte solution, and as seals and separator coatings. The global EV market is set for explosive growth, maybe, with tens of millions of electric cars expected to hit the road over the next decade. This is often framed as a victory for sustainability, but the toxic Trojan is being overlooked. Demand for polyvinylidene fluoride, PVDF, a PFAS-based polymer used in EV batteries, is expected to double by 2028 alone. 6 years ago, less than 10% of PVDF global production was for batteries. Today, it is more than 40%. So unfortunately, with all these things, net zero and EVs tramples on everything else environmental. They clear thousands of acres of pristine farmland and forests for wind turbines and solar panels, and that's fine apparently. If it was for anything else, there'd be an outrage. But when it's for net zero, that's all fine. And of course, same here. That's all fine when it's all for net zero. And finally, just a funny image that somebody sent, Christmas related. Santa warns he can only deliver presents within 180 miles of North Pole after switching to electric sleigh. And let's hope he doesn't use the seat heaters either, because then it'll only be 130 miles of the North Pole. All right, that's it for this one. That's it for the Christmas special. Thanks very much to everyone for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of MGUY EV News. I hope you all have a fantastic day tomorrow and enjoy the holiday season. I will be back probably on Boxing Day, 26th of December. But for now, have a great holiday and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.